Just have a reference back point. That's an easy one for you. FATF. That's the standard. You always go back to, no matter what it relates to in AML, you always go back to FATF. Whether it's screening, onboarding, monitoring, risk profile, anything to do with AML, always go back to FATF and to some degree Basel, because that's another authority, Basel, as it relates to AML. So those are standards you could always refer to. And of course, sample risk rating of clients I would have included in your packet, which is not here because I amended it earlier this morning. Just to give you an example from a financial institution, because all of your clients have to be risk rated as to how they're risk rated, whether it's low, medium, and high, if you adopt that format, or let's just say 1 through 5. You could have a customer who's risk rated as 1, very low, pose very little risk. But as you go up the chain, it becomes very risky. And if you end at say 10, or let's just say for this exercise 5, 5 is your highest risk rating, that person you would need to do EDD. At 1, basic stuff. You don't need to know too much. So, myself and Ms. Eddie were talking about this earlier. And we're going to pick on number 5 today. We're going to pick on someone new today. Ms. Newton, how you doing? You good? There you go. Which of these two clients would you consider to be the greater risk?
Based on appearance, the one to the left.
Based on appearance.
Why are you judging based on appearance? As I said, if I'm going based on appearance, but the one to the right.
I'm just trying to figure, because I asked this question to another class before. Sorry?
Number right.
Okay. That's a good point. Who are they? Yeah. So, do you risk rate a client based on the attire?
No.
Let me give you a case in point. I remember over several years ago over at Atlantis, there was this some security guys. They had this short white man. They had him hook up by the pants. You know, say, "Oh, you coming on in the casino floor and drinking and what's not? We tired of you kind of customers and all." He said, "But let me explain." They said, "Let's shut up! Don't come on this casino floor." A drunk fella like you. He had on little sandals, short pants and everything. They had him hiced up, you know. I said, "Look at it." I said, "Boy, this fella sort of rough, you know." He said, "Shut up. Make sure you drunk too, or so ain't got no money. How we handle you?" And I said, "Wow, they really carried him to war now." He said, "I'm just trying to explain." They said, "What's your name? "My name is Saul Kersner." And they were like, "Ooh, Saul Kersner. You ain't Saul Kersner. Saul Kersner, Richie on this place. You was a little drunken fella walking through the casino." He said, "No, I'm Saul Kersner. Just someone please." So some senior VP, they came and they said, "Mr. Kersner, what's going on?" He said, "You know this guy?" He said, "This is Saul Kersner." What do you think happened to those two security guards? Well, of course, he was trying to explain because, you know, they based him on appearance. You ain't no billionaire. You wearing sandals and this Bermuda shorts. You ain't.
But that's just like the island when Bill Gates rolled up there. The woman tell him he can't afford no. Yeah, Bill Gates rolled up. She said, "You can't afford any of our property."
Yeah, exactly. And he'll buy the property and then fire her.
Buy the island.
There you go. But the reason why I use this clip right here is because I told the class that the fellow to the far right, he's an accomplished accountant. You know, he got the little spectacles on. He has a ledge on his arm.
That company, that accounting firm, that
Three-piece suit and everything. Actually, this guy, he works for Bernie Madoff. That firm, it's a distinguished firm until that point. But you got that guy, and they say, "Oh yeah, he definitely got to be the crook." You know, he's well-dressed, 3-piece suit, carrying the ledger, the spectacles. But at the far left, you have this guy right here who appears to be some street hustler. He's wearing a platinum grill and all that stuff. But of course, that's Plies. I mean, everyone knows Plies, yeah? No? Number 5? But you know who you
the 5th one now, but I don't know who the devil is. Sing me a song maybe, but I don't know who he is.
Yeah, but you
know who he is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get on YouTube like that.
He was good.
Sing me one song you don't know.
He is a
I did not say he was a rapper. Name one song. That's my point. Huh?
I know really 2000.
Anyway, okay.
He like Instagram
That's
things
all right.
now.
He's in
Why don't do it?
That's how you leave it.
No.
He probably ain't.
All right, sorry.
Okay, so okay, okay.
But to answer your question, both of them suppose a vagrant.
Yeah.
You can't just judge off of parents.
Exactly. But we do it every day.
All
When
the
a
time.
when a client walks in, you know, pants sagging, and you're like, oh yeah, he pants sagging, he can't afford no belt. Fuck him. Something ain't right with this fella. But like that's why I gave you the scenario with Saul Kersner. The security guys, because the guy he was talking sort of loud, and they said, yeah, let's throw him out of the casino. And the fella was just trying to explain, hey, I sort of like own this place, and they were fired before the night was over. They went home.
No, they should have been hired.
Boy, sometimes you gotta check.
We should be happy that they carry policies and procedures.
Yeah.
For me, it depends on what the protocol is.
They
And
did
what
the,
that man was doing, because if he was really being
Excellent,
disrespectful
yeah.
to other patrons, I don't care
Exactly.
who you are, you damaging my business now, they shouldn't have hooked him up.
well,
They
he
should have
hook right
dealt
up,
with
boy.
him accordingly.
But I said they should have known who it was.
CDD, CDD, they don't know
Why
who it
haven't
was.
you not know, like?
They
You
just
hold on, you expect the security guard who you're outsourcing the firm to know.
They don't outsource.
They don't, I mean, I'm just saying, not every entry level employee is given the privilege of being exposed to who the people are, especially if they're not local. So I can't automatically say that you treat all patrons a certain way, but if someone is being disruptive and disrespectful to your other paying guests, you need to say, I need to
Yeah.
handle it. Now, they shouldn't have roughed him up, but they shouldn't
Yeah,
have
well-
roughed anybody up, no matter who they are. So if I was their boss, I wouldn't automatically fire him. You're hot.
Oh,
And you're hot.
it is?
Yes.
It's wrong.
And you're hot.
Okay, so picking up the pace, so you want me to ask? You want me to call him and ask him if he could? Okay, yes, okay. Oh, number 5, you come here to cause problems in your life.
Am I the only one who's hot? Okay, let's go with you in terms
I would get messed up.
I know, I just assume it. You notice the
Oh.
month for people looking at their pay
Oh,
stubs.
didn't see a difference, you saw a difference.
That was the thing,
That was
I
my
would
incentive.
I got the same thing, you know, that was my. But he said, you know, he said,
I have good news and I have good news and bad news. It's on auto, so they say it rotates, so it'll kick back in at some point. So, yeah. And it's locked, by the way, too, so you would need a key to get in, so they don't have that. Oh, you also talking applies? Oh, okay. Okay, so it goes without saying that anyone who walks into the institution,
oh, that's the rest of them.
so, like we were saying again, it happens every day. That's not a factor. Appearance shouldn't be a factor when you're risk rating a client. In the case again with Saul Kersner, you may be, heisting the wrong person. Have you ever seen Oprah Winfrey without her makeup on? Really in the morning, she doesn't look like Oprah. Now I ain't trying to be funny, but no, she does not look like Oprah. And she is always over to Atlantis, and if you see her walking around, you'll think that's just average. Okay. There you go. The register will be floating around there. So, there's certain factors that we'll be looking at when you're talking about risk rating a client, and it's not the appearance. Because number 5, I'm sure all of your high-end clients don't always wear 3-piece suit.
No.
Yeah, sometimes they've been
It's casual, but it's ugly.
exactly. So don't get caught up in that the attire. Like I said, some of the text may not show up on the board, but it'll be in your handout because it was an amendment. So the customer risk rating profile, and it's the assumption that you would have already read the chapter prior to coming to class. Yeah. So companies are required. It's not a if woulda, coulda, shoulda, you're required by law to risk rate all of your client relationships. Yeah, that's a given. It's international best practice, which includes your existing customers. And if you were to refer to your, hey, how you doing? All right. And rule of thumb is typically we always use it's low, medium, and high. That's international best practice. So if your company adopt a different approach and it works for you, great. But low, medium, and high is the preferred model or the best or the required standard. Yeah? But all of your clients, you have to risk rate, you have to size up, you have to do your risk assessment, and you have to have them fall in one of those three categories. Yeah? Because once you categorize the client, that's gonna determine how frequent you're gonna review that client, the type of information you're gonna get from that client. Perhaps they may not need EDD, just basic KYC. Yeah? Based on the risk that they will present based on your profiling. Yeah? Banks and SFIs, and when we say SFIs, that's supervised financial institutions. Just an acronym. Because me and Ms. Ayati was talking about that earlier. She said that I am learning a lot of acronyms. We try not to waste words in compliance to be just, my boss the other day said, "You did the GFSR?" I said, "What?" On the 1412, I said, "What?" And she's like, And so I had to learn fast because we don't use a lot of words. They'll send an email and it's read at the ending is spelled out. Everything is just acronym, and if you don't know any better, you'll be like half your day just trying to figure out what it is. But you get used to these terms. So banks and supervised financial institutions should profile every new customer. Man, at 6:15. Okay. Well, 1 second, I got it. Just keep ringing. I don't know what that means. We could ignore it, but then
Yeah, she hang up.
She hang up. Okay. So she didn't want to hang on.
She's back on now.
Okay. Well, she's back. The very important point you need to get from that. What was the question? What? Okay. So when we said that the customer risk rating profiling, so we know that it's a requirement. Yeah, it is. Already, so it got to be true. So companies are required to risk rate all of their clients. The second point, the banks and SFIs should profile every new customer using their own judgment. You hear that? So you be held to your standard based on your policies. So you would use your own judgment and information obtained through CDD. So you see why that's important? I know it's getting hot, Miss Ferguson, I see you finding. Yeah, we can pick up the pace, but it's a little warm, but hopefully it'll come back and we get out here in there. So, it's subjective. Also, it's based on your policy and procedure and the CDD that you would have populated. Yeah? So based on the information you get, you will make a determination, and it should be in line with your policy on how you're going to profile this client. Yeah? Central bank risk rating requirements. I think I would have touched on this last class. So the Central Bank of the Bahamas requires that every significant financial institution, and let's just pretend that's all in our scenario, who they would regulate, to establish a risk-based due diligence framework and process, to be in compliance with international standards. You see, keep saying that over and over and over. This is what we like to call the sexy words, especially if you're writing papers and stuff. You want to use those terms that the examiners like. Best practice in line with international standards and best practice. FATF, stuff like that. You throw those in, okay, you got a good understanding as to what's going on. So to be in compliance with international standards, the Financial Transaction Reporting Act, we like to call it FTRA again, we don't like to waste words, and the FTRR, Financial Transaction Reporting Regulations, adopted the risk-based approach recommended by Basel Committee. So you got your FATF and you got Basel. So they're the two standards again, and they are the ones that support and give directive as to risk rating and profiling of clients. So anyone ever asks you, well, why are you doing this? Why you need to get this? Why you need to obtain that? Well, it ain't just our local, your policy and local regulatory requirement. It starts with FATF, and by extension, Basel, the Basel Committee, yeah? And then, of course, you got your OECD by extension again. So you got all of these different bodies, international standard bearers, in its totality, pressuring you and saying this is what is expected of international community. If you're going to be a part of financial services, this is what you're required to do. Yeah? So you can't get away from it. Yeah? The next slide, hopefully, yeah. So it's blank up here, but it's in your hand. So the Basel Committee on Risk Rating Customers, they actually have a standard that you could go to their web page. I actually lifted it for you, make it life a little easy for you. You'll have it as a reference point. So a bank, all banks, all financial institutions should develop and implement clear customer acceptance policies. Now remember, they will tell you, oh, okay. So they will tell you you would have to create or implement a policy. They will not tell you how to do it. They will only give you tips. Central bank, whenever they tell you, hey, you should have a policy as it relates to onboarding and risk factors, they would never say, hey, it has to be exactly like this. They don't want to be held to that standard. Reason being, they also tested too. They reviewed, and they don't want to say, hey, well, we said that you have to do hard and fast this way. They will just say, hey, turn off the light and exit the room, close the door. They won't tell you how to do it. Now, if you want to go and write up on the wall before you do it, all they want to know at the end of the day, you turn the light off and you lock that door on the way out. However you put that in writing, that's on you. Yeah? So you would have judgment and leeway in that regard. So as it relates to Basel, they said you should. Remember, they didn't say must. You know, when you hear certain words, you should develop and implement clear customer acceptance policies and procedures to identify the types of customer that are likely to pose a high risk to your business and operation. You will see some numbers inside there. This is because it's bulleted, so don't concern yourself too much with that. When assessing risk, a bank should consider the factors relevant to the situation. We did discuss factors in previous classes, such as, anyone can remember some of the factors when you're talking about risk rating a client, such as, let's riddle off 8 of them quick. Yeah, well, the voice of the volumes is a good one. The nature of their business is a good one. Source of funds, yeah. Source of funds, source of wealth, yeah. PEP, yeah, those are given ones. Any sanctions involved, perhaps? There you go. You need to, because if it's listed as a sanction as a possible match, then you definitely know that that person is like really high, or someone you may not want to onboard because they would not be in your. Think of the buffet. Risk appetite. Whenever this is how you remember stuff. You just like, well, you ain't got a paper in front of you. Like, boy, I got a block. Just start thinking about stuff like, how I remember stuff. I say, okay, you know what? I got this paper to write. Okay, what I can put in here about risk right now? Boy, why are you, a buffet. And from the buffet, you're thinking about appetite. You can only take in so much. Do you have the capacity? They like sexy words like that. So coming out of that buffet, you're thinking about capacity, risk appetite. Yeah? So little words like that you could use however it works for you. So when a customer is being assessed by a bank, you should look at their background. And remember when I like to throw this word around, like this term, like, hey, you judge by the friends of the company you keep. Perhaps you would want to know who their suppliers are. You know, who their business partners are. Who are they related or connected to. So when you're doing your background, you would also want to know, you know, like, what's their occupation? I mean, you're self-employed, which jurisdiction you're coming from, or your activity is going to be centered around. Yeah? You could be in a low-risk jurisdiction, but all of your income or revenue is being derived from a high-risk jurisdiction, perhaps for, let's just say you're here locally, but 90% of your clientele is coming from Nigeria. That's a concern. Or, yeah. Or let's just say your client base is predominantly the Middle East. Yeah? That's a concern. In particular, let's just say Beirut. That's a big concern. You're talking about a sanctioned country. Do you have the capacity for that? It's one thing to go after the client, but once you onboard that client, when we talk about the capacity, can you effectively monitor this client? Do you have the means? For example, you can't Google everything. There are going to be some databases you have to spend money on for subscription perhaps. Yeah? Do you have that capacity? Do you have the staff or the manpower or the resource to, you know? You may have a small little boutique, but if you're a big organization and you just don't have the manpower, yeah? So you have to factor all of that in. The nature, again, purpose for the account. Think about it. I mean, you're this wealthy individual. You live halfway around the world, but you want to open a savings account in the Bahamas? What's the rationale for that? And you know what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about compliance? It's that three-letter word, tax. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. And what is it? Some tax break? Remember we spoke about that earlier in the earlier class about taxes and all of that. I mean, halfway around the world, you just want to open a savings account, and you want to initially open the account with like 100 grand. I mean, you know, and then you will be sending cash of money like about $100,000 every month. I mean, what's the rationale for that? What's your nexus to the Bahamas? You know, why? Possibly. Well, number 5, I just go from 0 to 100 real quick.
Because that's the real life situation.
Okay.
People you planning to get a divorce, you want to move your assets, so when y'all go through it, you gotta pay on what you define.
It's funny you should say that because I had a scenario, I think it was what, 4 years ago. It was a joint account, husband and wife. And you know it's a case of who get their voice.
Oh yeah.
and we get instructions saying, don't let him get there. Next week, like, whoever get your voice, we ain't getting in your door. So the bank working for him, hey, listen, we don't get all of that. You know what? Let's just, whoever get your voice. Because we really didn't want to wash our hands and you all divorce get just a little too messy. We really ain't on that run. And I think it was the wife get it because he was like a slouch. He just taking his own time. She got in and like, you know what? I think I can close the account. It's a all account, so you didn't need both.
Yeah.
So she just got there and he slacks off, you know, he driving slow. He ain't want to rush.
So clearly this was before internet banking. I could chime onto my phone and say transfer from the joint account to my single account and that. That's it.
And of course, you know, he wanted to bring litigation against us. You know, the whole, you know, the both of us is joined as a buddy. Or. That one little word, or. So yeah, that can make a big difference.
And he's explaining that to them when they open these accounts and they still decide to get
Because
this
they
joint
love
account and will come.
big line.
Yeah. And the sad thing was that it was his account individually, but then he brought her on. But once you put that word in there, or, and you bring her on, she have access. So don't get us into the little fight. Don't try sue us.
I just been going online like
Yeah, I mean, can't we just get along? I mean, you gotta get your voice. That sounds crazy to me. So again, but certain policies and procedures should require basic, just to continue in the second paragraph, certain policies and procedures should require basic due diligence for all customers. Yeah, you have to do basic KYC on all customers, but of course, the degree of exposure will require you to do even more enhanced or even greater CDD. That's a given. As the risk level associated with the customer varies, It's not a one size fit all. We know that. So we beat that horse to death. One customer can be present a higher degree of risk as opposed to another customer. For a proven lower risk situation, simplified measures should be permitted. We spoke about that in the last session, where we apply the simplified due diligence. Yeah. And again, just a quick reminder, when it comes down to simplified due diligence, you're guided by 3 standards: best practice, regulations, your company policy, and common sense. One got to kick in, right? So if the A didn't work, B didn't work, then you have to use common sense. Yeah? Because someone can't say, oh, we need to get the full 9. There's a pet peeve of number 5. Oh, we need to get the full 9 and do it. It's publicly traded, you know, there ain't no secret. I mean, you could go to this website and get the financials. You could go to central bank and see there's still a registered or licensee. That means they would have met all the central bank's requirements. Central bank happy. Why are you trying to get DNA from people? Relax. Oh, sorry, optimize. That's the word they keep telling me to use. I get it one day. So, for example, application of basic account opening procedures may be appropriate for an individual who expects to maintain a small account balance. You ain't gonna sweat no one with no little small account, you know, he only selling juju on the weekend, right? And he only doing it on the weekend. So why you gotta get all of this utility bill and all of this stuff? Why? When you could just get 2 points of contact. He can be right on by Marathon Road there. He ain't going no place. Yeah? And while I may trivialize it, that's the reality. You have to relax. Certain situations. It's a case by case. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Really appreciate that. So the FATF Financial Inclusion Guidelines. And when they talk about the inclusion, you want to get everyone involved in the traditional banking system because you don't want them to go underground. Yeah? Make sense? So that's why you'll hear central banks saying, okay, we need to relax on some of these. Sorry, they originally started with saying relax. They want to now optimize some of the guidelines, so it'll be all inclusive. Yeah? And hopefully with the digital coin, it'll even make it more all inclusive. Because in the case of the Family Islands, you don't have your traditional banks in all of the inhabited islands. Yeah? But if you got your smartphone, you could move stuff around. Right? Well, not this, but do you know if you got online access, you could do. Yeah, you could do some stuff. Who don't have internet? Some of the Family Islands. Well, that'll change soon. That'll change. Which brings us the piggyback of your next ability in here. So within your handout, it says general low risk scenarios and factors. And this is where we go back to the common sense approach and risk-based approach. There may be, it's not on the board, but it's in your handout. There may be circumstances where the risk of money laundering or financing of terrorism may be low, extremely low. For example, where information on the identity of the customer and the beneficial ownership is publicly available. If you can readily get information online, Google, the internet, why are you going to stress a client out for the information? Just saying. Yeah? How would you feel if you want to open up this account and someone say, oh, you need to get this, you need to get it, do it. You have access to the internet? It's right there. All my financials are right there. All my information is in the public domain. So what's the problem? Especially when you have your regulator saying you can do that. You can get that. That's acceptable. In such circumstances, and provided there has been an adequate analysis of the risk by the bank or the SFI, simplified due diligence measures may be applied. Yeah? Examples of such low risk scenarios and factors include, but not limited to, a financial institution regulated by Central Bank of Bahamas. Need I say anything else? Central Bank happy. If you are no longer licensed by Central Bank, they would put a notice up saying, hey, don't do business with number 5 in our company because they may be involved in perhaps some fraud allegations. They no longer licensee. They don't meet our standard. They will put a notice up. So that wouldn't even be an issue. But the fact that you're still there, you fall under the category of licensee, that's acceptable. A government entity. Yes, ma'am.
What about the credit unions?
What about the credit unions?
The others rate them high, or because like they have to come under a parent bank,
No,
so they just stay out there.
no, they're gonna be high. A matter of
I know
fact,
they're regulated, so they have to come under any one of these.
they're regulated by
Right.
central bank now. And the fact that they have a license from the central bank, that's a level of comfort for us. Because you have to
They can't
pass,
regulate them, okay.
central bank, yeah, guide them,
And
yeah.
that happened.
That's what, 2 years now?
Yeah.
2 years, yeah, in the central bank.
But they still need a clearinghouse, so clearing bank again.
No. You have the 7 clearing banks, but no, they wouldn't, not for credit union.
Rates go down.
So, boy, you know how to throw people off. So, also with the, so if it's regulated by the central bank, if it's a government entity, yeah, you would apply simplified due diligence because the government gave you the license, yeah. So you would have to be able to pass the vetting process, and there would have to be some level of comfort, yeah. You remember back in the day when you used to go, they would always say, well, you need an NIB card, and they used to give you them the orange little card.
Yeah.
Everyone used to go to NIB and say, well, I remember going there, I just to demonstrate to my boss, to go to knock on the glass. I need an NIB card. The lady said, okay, here's a card, write your address on it. I said, write my address. She said, all right, what's your name? I said, Craig. What's Craig Smith? I said, all right, Mr. Smith, there you go. That was the check. There was no degree of vetting. So we never really accepted that in my institution. Like, you come in there with an NIB card, what you doing with that? You could draw it with a crayon. We ain't interested in that. But the card with the chip one, there's a degree of vetting. You don't just knock on the glass and get that.
Gotta bring all
You gotta bring all kind of stuff for that. But that little orange thing was back in the day.
Yeah.
We never released. Yellow now? Okay. So the yellow card, no one respected that because you could draft or write anything you wanted on it. Matter of fact, the lady said, baby, I go into lunch up. Here, see a couple cards. You need it. I said, really? Yeah, thanks. No, they were slack back then. They were slack. You could get all kind of cards. I just was doing it. Just because I could. So, not that I was going to do nothing crooked, but I'm just showing, you know, that low value accounts, unlike your high-end clients who move in an exorbitant amount of monies by wires from jurisdiction to next, you ain't gonna sweat the little peanut man, the water vendor or the newspaper vendor, you know. Now, that position could change. Because if you see this person who was supposedly selling peanuts or water during the bank lane shuffle, all of a sudden, yeah, they find, let's just say, $200,000 in their house. You remember the scenario I gave you, Maurice? And yeah, that was a little different. Yeah, because when they looked at his NIB statements, they were only making like, what, $200 or whatever. But yeah, when you go on his ceiling, you know, he said, hold on, before y'all go in the house, y'all can find more than $1 million inside. Average person don't keep $1 million in their ceiling, right? Exactly. I still looking for loose change now. I be going through I got the mayonnaise jar and I got roll them up soon because whenever they see me coming at my institution, they always say, look at this foolishness. I go in early before the bank open because I know they're gonna be a while. All right, shame. Let's day out of. I put it around my account. I don't care. So the low value accounts, an entity publicly traded, you're being traded. Let's just say a BISX, a recognized stock exchange. That means you'll be asking stuff like, well, who's the beneficial owner? You got many owners. It's publicly traded. Yeah, if you want to be an owner too, you can buy shares. Yeah? So you would employ, you reduce, simplify due diligence. Yeah? So the next slide, there's a flip side. That's for your low risk rate clients. You profile them, they low. No big issue. However, conversely, high risk factors for your high risk, such as high net worth customers. You're dealing with these big boys. This is the one where your relationship manager, you got to do stuff like annotate. You got to make notes. This ain't like the the low risk, you don't have to really check for them. But now with this person who's high net worth, you need to have a greater degree of accountability. Does everyone in here do annotations or reviews for high risk clients as a relationship manager? Yes. So it's a standard. Yeah. No. Ms. Burrows, do what?
No, we do.
Okay, there you go. Get me scared just now. Bishop going quiet. But yeah, so you would have to because you're talking about greater volumes of money. This ain't the little peanut seller no more. You're talking about big money now. Yeah. When you get this type of clients come in, you roll out champagne, and you carry them in the little room, and you have the little private bankers and stuff. Don't look at me like that, number 5. You know how you ought to treat them people down there. That's like another level. You ought to pick them up from the airport and all. Yeah, I know. I hear some stuff.
Get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for. There you go. High end. Clients where the source of funds may not be clear. Have any one of you ever had a scenario where you had to actually look at a client's source of funds and you were not clear as to the source of funds? I've had a few.
RM's always trying to give you this one line.
One line, exactly.
They always give you a one line and you're like, seriously, that tells me nothing.
They only want your signature.
Exactly. Always.
And I was looking at one just last week. I told you about this on Saturday past. And I had to do a little doodling with a little cycle, okay, and the connecting the dot and the little, a little line going from here to there, and then imagining, okay. I still ain't figured out exactly those kind of scenarios. You never get any kind of support from me because I can't explain. I just can't, And I always go back to that one with the cryptocurrency, with the RM struggling to explain to me because I know techie, where the person would convert from fintech to Bitcoin, then back to fiat, and all that. I was like, boy, that's a lot going on. And on top of that, you had multiple jurisdictions involved. So, why does the money got to go halfway around the world to come back just to pay someone in Florida? That's like going all the way around the world, you catching the flight, come back here, and then go to Miami? Sorry, Florida? That don't make no sense in my little brain. Use of products and services that require non-face-to-face products. That's a risk. Yeah? Sorry?
That's a high risk.
Yeah, so face-to-face conduct, transaction, whatever, however you want to style it. That's very good. But it's whenever you're not dealing with someone direct, there's a greater degree of risk because you got to deal with intermediaries and, let's be real. JPs, in a lot of instances, they will only tell you whatever you give them, they can sign it. And so if you go to a JP and say, oh, you remember I was a little boy and you grew me up and everything like that, how much? $20 for that affidavit? And they say, yeah. I'm just being moderate, but I mean, it happens, And if you go to that JP a week later and you say, do you know Mary Sue? I don't know Mary Sue to save my life.
And I give them $20.
Yeah. JP's got to live too. Customers based in high-risk jurisdictions, that's a given. If it's a jurisdiction known for terrorist activity, high for corruption, money laundering. I used a scenario with Nigeria because we've seen an uptick, believe it or not, as relates to Nigerians at my institution. We've been hit in the last 2 weeks with a number of frauds. Sorry?
No, because they're trying to hit my account too. And I hit one of my colleagues' account.
Yeah, we had 4 poisons, but the customer said, oh, we didn't open the link, we didn't do anything, but they did. Because the poison they became compromised and the money they saw were 5,000 moved or 6,000, whatever. Because there was a link, a fishing expedition. I mean, we keep telling the customers, please, if you ain't know no one in Nigeria, Timbuktu, please don't just close it up. Don't even open it up. But they opened it up, they were curious. In one instance, one was honest. I said, I was curious. And I opened it up, but I closed it quick. It don't matter. once you click on it, that's it. That's it. You know?
You're just getting it for them?
No, we thought, I mean, just getting it. Oh, Ms. Ferguson, you know, the bad thing. Even though you...
Nigerians, just all.
No, I mean, think about it. But the Nigerians, they got time. So if they wake up in the morning and get a hot cup of Milo, They would send out at least 1,000 of those a day. And if you send out 1,000 requests in a day, that's why it's called phishing. You will get one person to bite. And if I get one person to bite, that's 5,000 in my pocket. That's a good
But they
day.
had more, they opened the email, but they also had to click the link, because nothing happens
They-
in just opening.
They did the full thing. We know they did the full thing. But they said all I did was click it, and I quickly closed it back. What did you see? What did you see? I only click it on, most banks, any credible bank was not gonna ask you, hey, we saw we need to renew your password or whatever. And we ain't gonna send you no email saying, okay, just click on this
My
link.
employee
And
not know better.
They still must be trying to track your thing when they send out their phishing,
well,
the
yeah,
tutorials.
yeah,
So you gotta be
You-
smart. They still much good now, but
anyone who's asking you online for your account information,
they
that's
don't really
suspect.
ask you for your account information now, at least.
No, this was blatant. This was blatant. They asked. There was no doubt about it. So that's why when we
I
asked.
really don't know, unfortunately.
Really? In this day and age?
Yeah.
I mean, when you been living down there, rock, I mean,
Yeah, they
like,
just be
you
on
just-
social media watching the girls some fight, that's all.
the girls
Yeah.
fight. Girls will fight. Okay. Okay, I guess the girls do be fighting. Element of anonymity in the transactions, especially when you can't know who the players are. We've seen scenarios where you don't know who the counterparties are. When they introduce new parties to these transactions you've never heard of before, and you're okay, who is this person? Because we need to be able to check. Because it could be someone on some watch list, and you're talking about high volumes of monies. We don't know who the persons are, and that's an issue. Yeah? You gave us a script early on. Say, okay, I'll be dealing with X, Y, and Z. But then you introduce some new characters. And the characters are from some high-risk jurisdiction. That's the issue for us.
Based
Yeah.
on international standards, we're considered high risk, the Bahamas, right? Still as a tax haven.
Because, yeah, because these same people, well, the G20, they say, oh, you're high risk for possible tax evasion or whatever. We really ain't high risk, It ain't us. Some clients who not giving us the CDD, perhaps, we have a high standard compared to some of those countries that are beating us up. I used the scenario the other day with Delaware. You don't have to say who your beneficial owners are on corporate vehicles. No, you don't. But in the Bahamas, the United States strongly suggested that we have a beneficial ownership registry, which we're going to be rolling out soon. So isn't that sort of the pot calling the kettle black or something?
They want us to do something, you're.
Sorry?
They want us to do something, they're not even going.
Actually, our standard is even higher than the United States. We are higher. But then, of course, they own the house. They pay the mortgage. They own the car. I mean, you only I don't even know if you're a tenant. I don't even know what to call us. But it is what it is.
Donald Trump liking us now, eh?
Donald Trump said what?
Is he liking us now after we go on, join up with him with, what's the other thing?
Venezuela.
Oh, well, yeah.
After his presidential.
But-
You know, when the rest of the Caribbean kick you to the curb, they've already made a statement. That
Mm.
none of the prime ministers that met with Donald Trump had any authority to speak on behalf of the Caribbean.
Yeah, there were some of the high
Yeah.
ranking members from the CARICOM who were
They
there.
were not
So,
happy.
no. Yeah. But at the end of the day, let's be real now.
They still got
We,
the
we need America. Let's not get crazy now.
You know when your country flooded in
Yeah, that's not crazy. I mean, we still like to go to Walmart, right?
do we?
Huh?
So like them family-
Oh, sorry, you go to the high-end store. I'm still at Walmart. I'm sorry. I like Walmart because, I just found out that Payless closing down. I didn't know that. Just to saving up the other day, saying I'm gonna get me 4 pair of shoes, but
The storefronts or the business?
they're phasing out.
The business?
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you pass now, you see liquidation signs.
Yeah,
Yeah, American.
You mean it?
I know. We gotta get them sales before they close.
No, I think they closed.
I mean, you get shoes, but $5. Okay, so you got the Pep store. Like you catch them while they're in the sale. You might as well catch them. They probably ain't gonna make them kind of shoes no more anyhow, right?
That's true.
Yeah. $5 shoes. So other high risk factors include your PEPs. We know they're high risk because they're susceptible to corruption, name matches. And that's why we need to get that stuff, especially when you're talking about cross-border movement. I had a scenario again. I always get these scenarios where someone was almost 80% a match at one of our institutions. I said, oh boy, 80%, that's I know about all of that now. They said, just sign off, Mr. Taylor. I said, ooh, come on now, you don't know party son ain't gonna sign that. So give me this fellow's passport and other information. I can come to you with some bulleted questions. Once you answer that and you provide me supporting docs, yeah man, no problem. And I put him through the ringer. They came back, give me all the information. Great, go ahead, get your little money. Don't come back no more. You know, go and send no more. But you need to do that. OFAC, think about the fine, $250,000. It may not be a lot to you, but to me, I can't lose my job for $250,000. Yeah? Complex ownership structures, have you seen any of those on paper? Then you got this one is tied to this one and underlying for this one, and then this one owns the shares, and then it's tied to this one and that one. And you're looking at it, you spend half of your day just trying to figure out who actually owns what. That's a task in itself. Yeah? The ownership structure is complicated. And then the transactions itself is even more complicated. Why is it so complex? Number 5. Why? Why can't it be clear cut?
Because everybody along the way got to make a dollar.
Okay, the question is this now. When the regulator come in and they just say randomly pick that file, just like how I do it, put all the good ones on top. This might be one they pull from the middle, and they say, okay, explain this transaction. Then what? I was ever so embarrassed when they had one with there was a sale of an aeroplane, and I didn't actually go through it because they used the same contract more than once, and the regulator said, well, you didn't catch this, and I said, so it's a one-off. I said, okay. Over this transaction, they said they used the same contract. I said, well, you ever wish the ground would open up and you would swallow you up?
How did they know they used the same contract?
It's the same thing, or the redata, the same blasted thing.
Yeah.
The RM, listen here, don't take the word of the RM. Sometimes you got to go over some stuff with a fine tooth comb.
Yeah.
And that pressure is, oh, just sign this. And you're like, oh, it looks, yeah, okay, it looks credible, whatever. Oh boy, I don't take no one word no more. After that central bank episode in 2013, you remember that. Well, you keep turning your head, you remember that, Newton. They put me through the ringer. I would never go through that again. Never. So learn from my mistakes. And especially when you get a contract that's redacted, you know, because they don't want you need to know who all the players are and all that stuff. No, boy.
But it was legitimate. It wasn't a fraudulent transaction.
The thing about it, some of the stuff, the volume for one, and then it's involving a country, Abidjan, you know when it was fire, it had war, a civil unrest the other day. Abidjan, you know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm talking about, right? I can't say it. Huh?
I said, let's go with that.
Yeah, let's go with that. But that particular country right there. And then on top of that, it was almost like repetitive. In almost 3 instances, back to back, using the same contract. You can't have the same contract with the sale of one thing 3 times.
Oh.
That was the thing. That's why you gotta look at this stuff. And they would say, oh yeah, we have a copy of that. So go ahead.
Were the checks for different amounts? You say we have been paying in installments?
It was installments, but then you had something that was redacted. And then you were leveraging on the RM, the relationship manager. When you get these type of complex structures and information sometimes, believe it or not, even compliance could miss some stuff sometimes. You think you'll only have one client or one review to be doing? You're limited in terms of resource. You got all these volumes of stuff coming at you, and if you know how my organization is set up, we're regional. So you got this inbox. You got like 100 stuff coming at you, and sometimes you have to, at some point, depend on the relationship manager. You have to, at some point. Unless you can work all night. And Patsy son, when you see 4:30 come, I starting to get sleepy, I ready to go home. No, I ain't gonna lie, I don't know, I believe in balancing, time to go home. So I'll look at that tomorrow, and then, but at the same time, they're pressuring you. oh, the client needs a transaction, and again, you know, sometimes you're, all right, let me just sign off. No, boy, I can wait for tomorrow. If you could trust me with 10 million of your dollars, you can wait till tomorrow. I don't know you from a can of paint. And I need documentation to substantiate this. And then that funny little country name, but you know, it had an unrest going on the other
So
day.
your compliance system for your transactions, so you pick up that name as an issue when it ran through. You don't remember, like that.
The
particular
territory?
country? Yeah, it didn't pick it up.
Well, it's risk rated high,
Mm-hmm.
but it was not sanctioned. So there's certain key indicators that would trigger to us. We'll just stop it there. But I mean, there's some stuff, even though it's high, it could still, yeah, it could still get through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you all have a numbering system? Because I see where the book is saying to, once you classify it low, medium, high,
Mhm.
still breaking down the numbers.
The book said that? Oh, which page we on? That's the next page?
No, I read it, the whole thing.
Okay, so it varies. Like I
What
said,
are we on in this book?
We're not
I
here.
mean,
I know we ain't using the book.
okay, with that, remember I started off by saying that you have some degree of freedom to adopt. The regulator will only say, hey, make sure they're all risk rated. Best practice is maybe 1 through 5, whatever. However you arrive at that, you could have a scoring system, however you adopt it. Whenever they come in, they will test you based on your policy and procedure. As long as they can come up to 5, hey, yeah, that's how you do it. But 5, if it's your methodology, to say that's your high risk rated clients, they just want to know how you got that, and if this person is a 5, and that the CDD, as required for your high risk, is in place. They ain't expect you beyond that, but it has to mirror your policy and guidelines. If you go to the next page, it says sample risk rating of clients, personal, in your handout. This is just one that I piggybacked of a certain financial institution, which will remain nameless. For a personal customer, risk rating as number 1. 1 is your low rated customer. The exposure level is really low. And I always use the peanut or the newspaper vendor. Customers deemed by the compliance group to pose a very low risk to the business. So they're 1. No big issue. But as you go up the chain, there are additional factors being added. Because of that, the risk level is now waterlogged or heavy. Yeah? At some institutions, they have a tool, a risk rating tool that has drop boxes. You could have number of factors, and the more factors that the client meets the criteria, the score will generate. We have that for our institution. And then at the end of the day, you'll say if between 1 through 5. You could have
1 through 3.
oh, you only go, oh, excuse me, be at 5, be making sure you get that. One score could have a 0.000001, that factor. And the next one could be a 0.1111, something like that. But between 1 and 5. However, if the client is let's just say it comes out to be a 2, saying the client is low, but based on what you see, in terms of your CDD information, that they should be higher. There should be some provisions in your system to say, hey, this is where the subjective side come in and say, hey, yeah, the system's saying one thing, right? But what I know about Graf, what I know about Bishop, Bishop ain't as clean as you think. I know some stuff on Bishop. So there should be some provisions, flexibility to import that information or additional notes or whatever and say, hey, while it's saying 2, low risk, it really should be 4.5 or 5. And you can do that. Yeah? But it's based on your policy and procedure now. Yeah, you have to have that flexibility in there. Yeah, so you have that the score. Yeah, so it takes the headache off you. You don't want to be sitting there all day trying to 0.00001 doing the maths. The 1 carry the 2.
We had to do it though.
The manual version? Why? Why would you want to go through all that?
That's before they upgraded to the calculated thing that
You're at Scotia.
scoring for you know.
Fidelity? Fidelity? Okay, yeah, okay. Fidelity is cool people. Yeah, so I mean for us, I like that the way it's automated. I mean like you just the Dropbox is already it's gonna calculate because I ain't trying to sit down and calculate all day now. I may get the wrong thing. I'm just saying, See, that's like going to maths class all over again. I really ain't got time for all of that now. I mean my thing is this: if I know you're a prep, I ain't gonna want that. You're fine. Click. I mean, I'm cutting the cash intensive bit. Click.
Cash intensive makes you them high risk.
Yeah.
Institute, no?
Yeah. Cash intensive businesses, service stations, restaurants. Yeah, man.
Cash intensive don't make them.
Yes.
Cash, no, high risk make them not cash
She
intensive.
said cash intensive.
Cash intensive, they don't get high risk.
Why are they rating them
Why don't you do
Yes.
that?
Not calculated as high.
Why not?
I thought y'all work in the same place.
Sorry,
That's all I think in my mind. I thought y'all work in the same place.
He said high risk on the.
Why not?
I don't understand why.
Cash intensive separate on the right channel.
Because you have so much money coming.
It has to say high at the bottom.
Yeah.
You have to have other things.
It would be high risk because of the nature of a business. If you There's another bank we talking about? Or there's something? You know the same, right?
I need to review them. Sorry.
Your Mr. Taylor says high risk.
But cash intensive businesses are high risk.
For what I know, it's high risk.
It is.
A risky business, that's the reason why it's high risk.
It is.
Can't go
The reason, the rationale, well, the rationale for that being that,
What's the rationale?
the rationale being because it's cash intensive. Say for example, if you got a restaurant, a grocery store, Rupert Roberts, at my institution, he put in like $1 million a day. $1 million because of the number of stores he has. That's $1 million. That's cash intensive. The risk in that for money laundering is that you could co-mingle easily money because the expectation is that he will always bring in $1 million or more because it's cash intensive.
Is it international standard or is that up for debate?
No, that's international standard because of there's certain businesses that are just going to generate a lot of cash.
Right.
And because of that, with the gas station, everyone need to go to get gas. You know everyone can hit the gas station, and the gas station will bring in a lot of money. And it's going to be cash based. And that's why it's cash intensive. Yeah, because of the nature. Now, I don't expect that with Juju. So if you come there and you bring in a lot of money for Juju, that better damn good Juju. Because, I mean, you know. And it's only not that you're not going to onboard the client, you know. It's just that with those type of persons, you have to do some more stuff. Scrutinize, your controls got to be tight. Yeah? Let me give you a case in point. And I don't like to do this because I'm being recorded. There was a business, this was a real business now, and I guess I can call the name right now. Y'all ever heard the name Kevin Major? The White Major. They had a business called Cider Brown Construction. And they said they were generating a lot. You laugh because you know about it. Yes, you know, but see why I don't like calling names? That's why one thing say
As public knowledge.
they know public knowledge, you ain't gonna lock this boy up. So this particular institution, right? This when we were doing surveillance on them, this back in my former life. And the thing about it was this. The machinery never left the yard. I mean the stuff was rusting, you know? You're talking about a cash intensive business and ain't nothing was ever being done. But they were making these deposits every week. Oh yeah, construction business, all kind of money, yeah, you got these contracts, yeah, bogus. Machinery never left. And supposedly cash intensive. So that's how we build a case, part of the case against Dwight. And we were able to confiscate this stuff. I mean, you ain't want them stuff because everything was rust. But yes, he was coming to the bank, yeah, so yeah, cash intensive business. Cash intensive business, but the machinery ain't moving. We sit there all them weeks watching, ain't nothing. We sit down, eat, play checkers, eat sandwich, watch them, you know, ain't nothing happening. Sorry? No, he ain't really running out. I mean, he doesn't have to because he have a business license. You know, the bank ain't gonna come and say, hey, you going on this, you can, you know. It is risky. Not that you're not gonna do business with them, but it is risky. Yeah, and your controls have to be tight. And of course, because they're high risk, you have to at least review them once a year, at a minimum. Yeah? I mean, you consult your policy and procedure, however, but yeah, you all can do that one on the side, but yeah, that's high risk. So the next, you can flip it over, be running out of time. It says risk profiling tips. This should be the last, before the last. Okay, so some real easy tips here. Low risk, low level risk. Banks can determine in cases where the identity and source of funds of the individuals and entities can be easily identified. Where you got instances where you can readily identify somebody and you are comfortable with the source of funds, why go overboard? That's simply the saying that. They would have met the industry minimum standard, they're already low risk, so what you going overboard for? Who you trying to impress? Yeah? Unless there is some adverse information on this person, perhaps there's an investigation or something, allegations, you don't need to go overboard for a low risk, low value client. Make sense? Because you're gonna also open yourself up to complaints. Because you know when you gotta keep going to the customer, hey, I need this and I need that. I need your up-to-date passport. Well, the central bank saying, hey, you can optimize right now and back off for the low-risk clients. But yet you're going, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. Show me that legislation. And you're harassing the customer. And these letters to complaint go to central bank. And then you get called on the red carpet. I get called on the red carpet a couple of times. And only me going down there. And I had a good feeling. Yeah? So when you don't have to, stick to the industry minimum standard, and you're good. Don't be too ambitious getting information that you really don't need. Low value client. You don't need to go overboard. And when in doubt, confer with your manager or your unit head. In terms of keeping preventative policies, determining the riskiness of the client and its profiling will provide an opportunity to discover the perpetrators of crime. Let me repeat that again. In terms of keeping preventative policies, you remember a couple of classes ago I said that you have to also focus on prevention. And it ain't just getting all this KYC. You need to engage by way of transaction monitoring. Yeah? So it ain't you gotta get away from just, oh, I got all this information. Monitor. Yeah? What's that? Oh, okay. Okay, so central bank is also saying this too. Focus more on the transaction monitoring and stop getting sidetracked or losing focus by just compiling a lot of paper, especially when it relates to low risk client. Focus on the monitoring, and if you have that level of comfort, it shouldn't be an issue. That's as basic as I can put it. Make sense? So transaction monitoring, low risk clients, don't sweat them. Yeah? Like I said, with the presentation here, I didn't get to update the slide. You always looking at that anyhow. But with the book, there was nothing additional that I added. There is a scenario in there. It's on page number 52. XYZ Bank, some made-up bank. You can look at it at your own leisure. And of course, if you already have, if you have to write on something like risk assessment, you can use your model that you use at your bank. And the basic stuff like what are the factors you look for, the nature of the person's business, the jurisdictions involved, the transaction volume, stuff like that. Yeah? So once they pass that, and especially the low value clients, it's a non-issue. However, if the jurisdictions are high for possible criminal activity, the complex transactions appear in the nature of the business, whatever, then that's a different. Yeah? How do you say, Dan? You got Easter coming up? Please, no one get arrested, because I can't stand no one deal. And if you get a chance to go to the States,
We know you going, so bring us something.
I can't be a girl seeing so rough as that. I got
You go
probably.
when you be right there on that flight.
Well, look, listen here, all of us ain't got bourgeois backing money, you know.
I know, that's why you're all going away and I'm staying here.
Did everyone sign the register? Don't forget to register. And I'll also encourage you, if you got a couple minutes while you're on your break, even just an hour, put some time into your paper. Don't forget your paper. Oh, no, I don't have a whole paper there. Ferguson, why don't you leave me alone? So enjoy your holiday, folks. I mean, I got you 7 minutes late, so I guess I owe you a couple minutes. Going where?
Mr. Taylor, do you have another copy of that?
Yeah, I got a couple of them.
It doesn't.
You just need one?
Yes, Barry asked me to hold a copy.
She's retired.
I think it's one is
No problem.
You will say yes or no, you say yes.
It don't go that high.
It'll be a call higher.
And that's a. Right, high is on the left and Washington's on the right, they
So see, that be learning something new today. Y'all got an office to invite him?
Obviously, we do now, thinking.
You all doing your own thing? What kind of thing? Bishop, what happened, man? Are you serious, man? I think
Put them right back.
When y'all got audited, y'all didn't know about
yeah, y'all gonna go fight tomorrow with that.
No, we just gotta check.
I had to tell the girl who had training classes yesterday to make you high.
Safe travel.
Girl, listen here. I bring you back some from Walmart.
Okay.
I bring us some instead.
Girl,
This is